Alright guys, Tetrabit here, and it is a rare day that I do 2 Rostermania Rumours videos in a row, but yesterday it really did all kick off around Rostermania, and there's definitely a lot of things to discuss today. I do want to put out there as a disclaimer that these things that I say in these videos are not necessarily going to come true. It's a situation of, well, people might get better offers left, right and centre, things change tack, but I think you guys would still enjoy hearing how the story is developing across time. And yeah, very interesting things coming out over the last day or so, especially surrounding EUnited, so we'll talk about that in a few minutes here. Firstly, want to discuss this midnight situation because, well, it's a very interesting one. I think it's a little bit more complicated, or maybe a lot more complicated than people are giving on, and supposedly it's much more complicated behind the scenes than we can see on Twitter. So as always, I greatly appreciate a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, all that good stuff, and let's get right on with it. So it really all started with this comment on Reddit from Crimsix. So there was a post that said, people are saying they should cash out now to do with Midnight, and it's easy money, but to me, if I own this org and I see how successful EUnited has become in Infinite Warfare, all I started from having a good team, thought to be AMS, it was a very good team, now to the names, Clay and JCap playing for them, I'd want to continue to invest and develop the org. Now, Crimsix says, well, they have a league spot and they've only been playing one player this whole season, so I'm not sure how that works. Hashtag SipsT. So then we get the response, of course, by the Midnight CEO on Twitter. GG Midnight is offering our players 6 figures, over 200k on a 2-year contract, plus health insurance and a 401k retirement plan, while not paying them. Crimsix should check on the facts and not spread rumour of jilted players. Now, I just want to read through this stuff. I'm not going to take sides on this because apparently there is some element of truth in what Midnight CEO is saying here. So, I'm not going to take sides. I don't have any information, but I thought I'd present it to you guys anyway because it's kind of entertaining and also kind of worrying on the side of the players. So Crimsix replies, so they probably don't like the deal you've offered. I wouldn't sign that if I were them. You aren't budging on this contract to a point where you blocked your players via social media, which supposedly happened in the last week if they don't sign. Then you just admitted you haven't been playing them. Not true, bro. Every player's got a paycheck since they were AMS. Truth, every month. Facts. We can't make anyone sign a new contract. 244k over 2 years. Dozens of current pros want this deal. You will soon see who that is. So kind of implying that, okay, well, the current team's going to be out the door, at least some of them are, and then, the new guys that we want to get in. So you just admit to dropping your whole team, you realise that, right? And he replies with something like, dude, come on, being stalled by players and dropping players are 2 different things, bro. Who would actually want to drop a 5-2 team? Not me. So I don't know whether that's trying to save his bacon there or something, trying to pretend that he didn't say what he just said. It's difficult to say. A couple other tweets from this guy. Just a few days left in Rostermania. When the dust settles, Midnight will be ready for Fort Worth. Pool C is in for surprise. GG Midnight is unveiling our rebranding and fresh commitment to be a leader in the CWL. Then another tweet here. So yeah, this is the original one. Lies. I respect Optic Crimsix and the Optic Org. I do not understand the difference between pro and new pro players. I expect Hex knows the damage rumours can do to a player in an org. Crimsix is welcome to contact these guys for the truth. So I guess there's an element of truth to that. So with that out of the way, these are the rumours that I've been hearing surrounding this Midnight team, especially on the Intel Call of Duty Twitter account. It's done a great job, compiling all of these things. Supposedly, Midnight wants the guys on the team to sign a long-term deal, but the guys on the team, namely Envoy, Jetli, Brack and Parzelion, don't want to sign this long-term deal because they think that with franchising coming up, they're not sure that Midnight will be able to get a spot in the franchise league. So, the only guy who has agreed is Llama God. So, Midnight are trying to get rid of the other 4 and get in some new players because they don't want to sign the long-term contract, supposedly. Now, Jet Li apparently has been moved to the bench, which is what this guy right here says. This is the dad of Brack, who's on the team. And, well, there's a couple of tweets to the CEO here. And when the parents get involved, that's when you think, okay, this is actually getting serious now. So, Midnight, why in the world did you just now move Jet Li to a sub when he's not going to Fort Worth? The team will not be successful. Why would you do that? I'm beside myself. I don't understand. Mess up team chemistry. One name that has been rumoured to be replacing Jet Li is Saints, of all people. So potentially Jet Li on the bench and Saints coming into the squad. That's the only name that's really been brought up. This tweet as well. I'm one of the players, Dad. I know and have seen all this unfold. Ken, you should be embarrassed. That is the CEO of Midnight indeed. So those are the rumours surrounding Midnight at the current time. It's a very interesting situation. I don't know how it's going to go down towards the future. But supposedly there is an element of truth in what the Midnight CEO is saying. And there's also an element of truth in what the players have been saying over the last few days. So it's an interesting scenario for sure. I did want to mention this, which is what Final Cutman, who is the analyst of FaZe Clan, says on Reddit here. So it should be noted that MLG reserves the right for final approval on roster moves. I find it hard to believe they will let Midnight drop most of their roster when they are top 2 in the division. Now, if you read the CWL handbook, as Final Cutman says here, if you go through all the things, the administration basically reserves the right to do like anything. And yeah, it does kind of appear that if there's roster moves and MLG and the CWL don't want to go through with them and they think it's, unreasonable or something like that, then they can say you can't do that, I'm pretty sure. So it's an interesting scenario. Maybe this will come into effect at midnight, trying to drop 4/5 of the roster. But then again, if they're offering a contract and the players don't want to sign it, then, what can they do other than get other players that want to sign the contract, if there are other players that want to sign the contract? Or will the CWL force them to, restrict the terms? We'll have to see. Now, to follow up on some of yesterday's stuff, this is a Reddit comment from Intel_CWL. This source is not quite as credible as the COD burner, the infamous COD burner, but this guy has got some things right in the past, so take these things with a grain of salt. But, we'll go on to the EUnited stuff in just a second here, but firstly, let's go through the rest of this stuff. So, apparently, Accelerate has been bought up by FaZe. The roster consists of the old FaZe Black minus Asim plus Zuma. Finally, Midnight will all be released, barring organizational changes. Saints is the only player right now I'm fairly confident will join the team. So yeah, kind of goes with what I'm saying there. Even though I did hear that Llama God potentially was interested in that long-term contract, but maybe if he's realized the rest of his team isn't signing it, then he might go back on that to some degree. Also, one thing to mention on yesterday's video before we go forward is there has been some bait being thrown around. I think Frosty on his stream was saying that COD was good while it lasted. Pretty sure that's bait. And another thing is with Enigma 6 is that Chino apparently is not locked on that team. It seemed like it was relatively clear cut, but supposedly now Chino is not necessarily the man that's going to Enigma 6, so don't take that 100% guaranteed. Now, Slacks confirms here that LG is indeed sticking. Also, UYU, the team of Skies, Gorgo, Proto, Mayhem, and Methods, those guys are also sticking. So LG is sticking, UYU is sticking. That stuff seems very much confirmed. And now we need to talk about EUnited, because this is the most interesting developing situation at the moment. I was very much ready to chalk all the tweets up from EUnited as just bait, especially when I looked at what Abizi was tweeting out. So these are the tweets on Abizi's timeline. I gotta be getting trolled. This is actually mind-blowing. Where the cameras are gonna be on a prank show. This is actually laughable. You see these 6 tweets in a row, it seems like the most low-tier bait attempt I've ever seen in my entire life. But maybe, maybe he doesn't have the capacity to be sarcastic. Maybe all this stuff's legit. I don't know. And that's what's so interesting about this. Prestinni did this tweet, haha, content over winning, baby. And I was relatively ready to chalk this up as all bait. I was like, it's really immature from the guys in EUnited, but, I don't really see too much of a reason why they would split at this time. They had a good end to the Pro League. And, well, Clayster was tweeting out things as if, he could potentially have been dropped. But this tweet obviously does make it interesting, because content over winning makes me think, well, what player could Prestinni possibly be being replaced with that is going to provide more content opportunity than Prestinni himself? So potentially this is pointing towards Clayster, because supposedly over the last few hours or so we've got these rumours that maybe Clayster is not happy with Prestinni being on the team, and therefore he's trying to get Prestinni off the team and get someone else in. And, well, of course, as I said the other day, Clayster is the big name, of course, in this EUnited squad. You have to kind of keep that guy happy to maintain your fan base, or else he's going to leave the team. So maybe that's what Prestinni means by content over winning, is that they're, bowing to the demands of Clayster over maybe keeping the team chemistry as good as it was. But that's all speculation. The reason why I thought that this stuff might not be bait is this tweet from the parent, the mum this is, of Arcetes and Prestinni. And she says, I would love to say some choice things right now, I gotta be kind. Now, the bait from the pros is enough as it is, but if they're really getting their parents to start tweeting stuff that's also bait, that's just next level immaturity and not necessary. So I'm kind of tempted to suggest that this stuff is legit to some degree. And as you can see here, she also changed her @ to 2 wins mama, whereas in this tweet it was EU twins. So, well, who knows exactly what's going on? The going rumour is that maybe it's minus Prestinni plus Simp has been something of a rumour. And Prestinni does seem to be the obvious, if there was going to be a roster change on this team, Prestinni would be the obvious target, I would say. He's not like he's a bad player by any means, but if you're trying to look for an upgrade somewhere, then Prestinni's probably the guy. You're not really going to get rid of Clayster given the fan base and the tenure. Now, one other thing I was thinking about here is based on this tweet that Alec does, this is Arcetes, in reply to Scraps. Now, Scraps says Rostermania more like Orgmania, and Alec is just laughing about it. So maybe this is implied towards Midnight, maybe this is implied towards Accelerate Gaming getting picked up by FaZe or something like that. I'm sure maybe Midnight have got offers from being bought out by other organisations, but they want to hold on to their spot because apparently the Midnight CEO has a fair bit of money behind him anyway. Maybe this is to do with EUnited though, because yes, you would assume that EUnited now is a pretty big, pretty established organisation. They have teams in other esports as well. But looking forward to franchising, do they really think they have the cash to buy a franchising spot? I'm not necessarily convinced that they are going to, because the Overwatch League owners apparently get the first choice of buying the CWL spots, and then teams like FaZe Clan, teams like 100 Thieves, guys like that are gonna have more money going around than EUnited than potentially other owners. So I'm thinking that there's maybe even a chance that EUnited see this as a decent opportunity to sell off their assets in the team. Now, I'm not sure, this is wild speculation at this point, but if there was a time that's pretty good to sell your team to a potential franchise owner to get things built up, on their end, for they can get things built up and ready for the CWL when they purchase their franchise license, then maybe this is a good time to do it. So that's just speculation, but I'm thinking that maybe there are things even deeper going on behind the scenes than just the player changes. But anyway, leave all your thoughts on this really interesting development in the comment section below. Do you think that EUnited are on the cards for a change? What do you think about the Midnight situation? Which organisation will those guys potentially end up on down the line? So yeah, like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Last combat asset. Complete the mission. MTL exhausted. End this now. The bomb has been planted. Charges defused. Good job, CDP. Do it again and let's go home.